Hello, everyone. Welcome to Empowered with Gina podcast. Okay, so today I have a powerhouse baddie woman in my presence. Alma Burke is here, a USC connection, by the way.
Absolutely.
Alma is the founder, president, CEO of Burke Consulting Group. And yeah, that's her last name. So let's get into how she is a boss babe and doing it all in your life. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy you're here.
Yeah,
So
I am
inspired
too.
already because I know about you and I'm just like fangirling a little bit. So, okay, 3 adjectives to describe yourself.
Oh my gosh, I thought about this because I have been listening since you asked me. Honest, courageous, resilient.
Okay, good. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Santa Ana. I'm a first generation. My dad, farm worker. My mom, just an amazing human being. But they came here and that's where I grew up.
Okay, so how was childhood?
Bumpy. And I say bumpy because you don't know what you're being faced with when you're going through that moment, right? So being the middle child, 2 brothers, older brother Juan, my younger brother Jerry, who passed away in 2020. Our family was, like every typical first generation Latino family, our home was where everyone came to kind of get their footing, to try to actually like make it in this country. And my mom was just loving and caring towards everyone. My dad was working. But in any typical family, we just always had something going on. I mean, there was always some sort of controversy or drama, just because of the family.
How, if at all, did your family talk to you about education?
They didn't. I mean, they really didn't. And I have to say, like, it wasn't until the teachers at school started bringing up the different talents both my brother and I had. And I speak of my older brother and myself because my younger brother was autistic, special needs. Both my brother and I helped educate him early on. Sadly, my mom battled depression because of it. Yeah. But the teachers were constantly, they knew what we were faced with. So they provided so much guidance and support. So the teachers out there, I absolutely love my educators, which is why I'm getting a doctorate in education because it's so important.
It's so important. And it's such a undervalued, underappreciated profession. They are rearing. I mean, you're a perfect example because teachers saw a talent in you and went to bat for you.
Yes.
What? That changed the trajectory of your life.
Absolutely.
Just someone seeing you.
Yeah. I didn't have anyone at home, and my brother can attest to this, is we're now being propelled into higher classes, like GATE classes, honors classes, and we're coming home with homework that no one can help us with, right? And so going back to the teachers, either after class or like asking someone else, learning the value of like developing a village of people who will like help you was really important. But we didn't have that at home because my dad only had a first grade education and my mother only had a 3rd grade education. Wow. Which didn't mean that they weren't smart. No, they just didn't know. That's right. No one else propelled them. It was about putting food on the table in their generation. So for a long time, my dad would tell me, you're not going to eat with a diploma. And I would tell him, I said, not only will I eat, but this whole family will eat. I promise you. So that was like the challenge between me and him. So,
but that's interesting because there are, and I think culturally we both know this, there are 2 type of people in that situation. Right. The child or family member that becomes complacent and defers to the older person telling them, you're not capable. That's not how things are done. Yeah. Something's wrong with you.
Right.
You were defiant.
I was so defiant.
But why? Like, what was that?
My mom asked me that several years ago because for years she and I would argue about everything and anything about society, right? Because they have their cultural norms. Yeah. But when you bring us to this country, we're exposed to a variety of people. Oh. And I've always been so open that I'm like, well, I like where that person is going. Like, I like how that person is doing that. And so I gravitated to like powerful men and women that really, really like defied the odds, right? So I wanted to be that person. But my mom asked me, she's like, I don't know what it was since childhood. Really? You just were challenging me. And it's just like this internal fortitude. And I call it my inner like spirituality with God and understanding like we have a greater purpose, right? And that white noise that happens even as kids, like, like if we just learn to just go, well, I'm going this way. And if you're not going that way, then that's okay.
That's
right?
it.
And then the other component too is you look at so many factors about the Latino community. We are like less than 1% in a lot of places.
Oh,
right? In a lot of places. And I actually drew a list and I was like, okay, I'm going to run a marathon. I'm going to be, get a doctorate. I'm going to like all the 1%.
Own your own business.
Own my own business as a Latina in, public safety. Like
in the country.
You don't see this.
Not just the state,
right?
the United States.
Right. It's like no one sees this, right? So how, like for me as a child, when I didn't see anyone like me, it was more of like, well, then it's maybe I'm the one that's supposed to be in that seat, right?
Wow. And it's so rare to have that thought process
right?
because
like, I don't who else like in having, police officers reach out to me and say, hey, listen, young lady, you're getting in trouble, because I was always defending people, and having them like take me under their wing and saying, okay, you're a very strong kid, like in many, many ways.
Yeah.
So what do you think? And being guided by teachers and law enforcement. So when I tell people like, there are so many significant things about being a human being. But when you reach out to one person and you mentor, right? And you say, how can I help you in my space?
Yeah.
Like where you are, right?
Yeah.
You can open so many more doors for those kids.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah. So how is, you're a smart kid. Clearly you're gifted, right? So your academic journey was easy, or how was it for you getting all the way through, and how high did you go? Talk to me.
I mean, I loved school. I loved my teachers. I connected with my teachers. I was always very sassy, always very opinionated, like I am today. But the reality of it wasn't difficult. It was something that I enjoyed because learning was something so powerful.
Sure.
And I just, even in reading a book, I just imagined myself somewhere else and realizing like, okay, what do I want to do? Who do I want to be? Like being so emotionally like intelligent.
Yes.
So like I can call it that now, knowing what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go and not having obstacles or anyone tell me you can't. Because many people do. Oh, I know. And I'll share something really quick.
Even now.
Yeah, right. I'll share something really quick. As a kid, I loved to sing. And I would sing every type of song. And in school, one of my choir teachers walked by and she goes, like you can sing. And I was like, I guess I didn't know, right? And so she took me into choir, and all of a sudden I was singing these solos, right? Oh my gosh. So my parents, my dad, and I love my dad, but he would joke and he would make fun of me. So at home I never sang, but at school I would. And then all of a sudden that took me into another journey of like singing in different spaces and enjoying.
So you're smart and you can sing? This is where I get jealous. Very jealous.
But I just love having, like, exploring all the talents, right? And you and I were talking before the recording started about kids being embraced and, like, asking them, like, what do you want to do? Where do you want to be? I didn't get that opportunity. I just kind of took it.
A lot of kids don't.
Yeah, and you're right. A lot of them don't get the support at home, and they don't get the opportunity to, like, if we would have explored this, because I do tell my parents, can you imagine if you would have embraced me singing? Like, where would I be in the singing arena, And so now I've made it a point, like, I need to sing more. I need to be in spaces more. I need to, like, do this. And I have been so fortunate. I sang at Dodger Stadium. I sang the national anthem there.
What?
And I was like, I'm so... Victoria Beckham, don't get mad, but I was such a David Beckham fan that when he came to the U.S., I went and auditioned at the gala.
Stop.
And I won.
What? What did you win? Wait, back up. What did you win?
So I won the ability to sing the national anthem in front of David Beckham. So I told my husband, I'm like, okay, you're coming on the field. Kids, everyone, Mama's going to sing the national anthem at the LA Galaxy game. So I have like this great photograph of like standing next to him and telling him like, like I went to Real Madrid, like I went to Madrid to watch you play. So I have had like an amazing journey and amazing life because of all the little talents
things,
that grow into big talents, right? So
let's talk about your biggest talent, because this is what I want to showcase today. And we will talk about singing in another podcast, because I really want to hear you sing and do all that.
Let's do it.
How did you start your own business in security? I mean, you're a woman, a beautiful woman, because there's a lot of that has to do with it. In security?
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
So a few years back, I was getting several phone calls of, whether it was just, hey, can I get your advice? Or, hey, listen, I have this dilemma. Or like you own your own business. All of a sudden you have someone that's threatening your business, right?
Oh,
and you sincerely have a sense of fear. And it just started off from that component. And then all of a sudden, a good friend of ours that we share, mentor, guide, he said, have you thought about launching your own company? And I had already kind of started gathering everything for my LLC and going, these phone calls are turning into like weekly phone calls to daily phone calls.
People were calling you because of why? What was your background?
So my background is 28 years in law enforcement.
Doing what?
I was at LAPD for 24 active and 4 as a reserve.
Doing what?
I was a police officer, and I was in all sorts of wonderful.
What?
I say like Mariska Hargitay and I always say like, okay, you see that on TV. For me, it was like, that's real, right? I was working homicide. I work undercover. Like people ask me like what my favorite assignment was. I'm like, I was a good prostitute. Let me tell you, I was working vice.
Totally.
Had such a great journey. I love the people that I work with. But yes, so I worked undercover. I worked as a
That's why people
officer.
would call you for advice.
Yes. So, and then, of course, as you know, I became the first assistant chief at USC, the first Latina. I was so happy and excited. And then that opened more doors, right? Because now I get to be around all of you, all the alumni. I'm on the alumni board. So it just created those spaces where people felt really comfortable calling me and asking me the questions. And so then all of a sudden there was a big pivot. There was an opportunity, and I ended up with 3 major clients, confidential clients, and the rest is history. And this is where I am.
So you leveraged and I didn't ask why you went into law enforcement in the first place.
Right.
But you leveraged a career instead of saying like, oh, I don't know anything about business. I can't start a business. I've been a police officer all this time. You said, I've been a police officer all this time.
Right.
People are asking me for help. I am the expert.
Yeah.
And you saw an opportunity.
I did.
And you went for it.
I did.
Were you scared?
Of course I was.
Are you? I mean, as a business owner, I'm scared every day, actually.
The best part about being scared is, I've been here before, obviously scared in different facets of life. And as a child, and if we go down that path of like, how did I become a police officer, is I grew up in a gang infested neighborhood. So fighting my way to get to school was really fighting my way to get to school. And so you think about like the skills that you have to learn early on because you're forced into that.
Yeah.
But you're also learning like negotiation, diffusing, de-escalation. Like as a kid, like you're trying to negotiate with gang members. You're trying
Just
to negotiate
to be left alone.
Hey, by the way, I don't want to be a gang member. I don't want to be part of that life. Making sure like you stay on a path that is better, right? Because sadly, you also see shootings and homicides as a young child, right? And that shouldn't be the case. So it was those officers, and I give them credit all the time. Santa Ana PD, yes, they were so amazing. They really made an impact because they were community officers. They would get out of their car, they would talk to us, they would play with us, they would come to the school. Nice. So when you think about public safety, and this is why like police officers are my heroes, is because the impact that they have every day, no one ever captures that, right? We always capture what bleeds and leads, right? Which is the bad stuff. And there's, so much that they give. And throughout my career, I say the same thing, like I was surrounded by heroes. What a blessing.
Wow.
What a blessing. And so.
And look what they did for you.
Yes.
Not only the teachers.
Yeah.
But another group of public servants who are often under-thanked and underappreciated.
Yes.
Look what they did for you. And they're doing that for many, many people. This is the behind the scenes stuff that nobody appreciates them for. Yeah. Just the bad stuff on the TV we see.
Right. And you think about like USC, the Alumni Association you and I are part of. And this is why now and today in this part of my life is like you start to not only align yourself throughout your life, but even more so when you get older, you're like, what do you value? Okay, I value the people who give back. I value the people who put their money where their mouth is, right? That's what we say. I value the fact that I can start a company and donate 10% of my proceeds to giving back to the kids, right? To giving back to the cops when they start community programs. And I'm so proud of all of them. And I'm proud of the kids that go through our program and get those scholarships and become amazing human beings, because that's all we want them to be, right?
That's it.
We want them to be part of that. So
a part of the community, and they're accepted and they're capable.
For sure.
So now you're CEO, president, business owner, all the hats.
Yes.
How old is the company?
It's 2 years old now.
And so who would be your typical client?
My typical client could be you. I mean, you own your own business. You have employees. You have to have safety protocols. I mean, you think about currently, California has this law, which is called SB 553, which you're supposed to have a workplace violence program. Oh. I come in, I do a full assessment. I take a look at where you are. Say you have to terminate someone and there's a hostile termination. Like, how do we safety plan in place to ensure that you and your family are safe, that the business, your employees have a right to be safe, right? Oh. The other bigger component that I absolutely love and didn't realize I was going to love it, organizational change leadership, right?
What does that mean?
So when I'm getting my doctorate in it, but coming into an organization and taking a look at it as you are president and CEO, you have a vision of your company.
Yes.
You want your employees to all get along. They all have great ideas. We all are diverse in thoughts. I come in and I organize all those thoughts and I get everybody basically going in the same direction. So the president and CEO doesn't have to always worry about pleasing everybody and, all of that. So that coaching component, I was like, I really love this. This is a new jam. Like I call it. And you're getting a doctorate in it. And I'm getting my doctorate in it because I think it's so important that leadership at all levels and you have to have that structure. Yes. People have to know that you care and why do you care? And you have different people in the workforce. So I go all the way from safety to workplace violence to organizing companies and infusing a little bit of safety involved in that. And then lastly, and I do a lot of one-on-ones on this, is, like your own private safety as women. So we are more than 50% of the population. We are also victims of crime at that much higher rate. Absolutely. So it is important for personal safety to be a factor. So I do, phone calls, we talk, I teach people everything from firearm safety to, how to protect yourself in your own home. You're seeing so many break-ins.
Oh my God, it's so prevalent everywhere. It's so in places prevalent. Where it never happened before.
Right. In places very you always felt safe, right? So all of that to say the company itself, it's just like a one-stop shop for safety. So absolutely. Yeah. And I also do keynote and public speaking. So okay, and then here we are doing podcasts.
And she sings.
And I sing. I love to sing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. So what advice would you give someone listening and they are X amount of years in their career and maybe something else is calling them, but we have heard people say, oh, it's too late to start. It's too late. I wasted too much time. What advice would you have someone like that? Because you're going back, you're in school again.
Yeah, I am. One of the things that I always share is you have to be realistic. Do you financially have the key? Because you have to think about when you make those pivots, can you make those pivots? Can you create something for yourself and find that? But I think writing down, number one, what are you passionate about? Like for me, it was people, the safety of people, caring for people. I have a heart that just will not stop. My husband always tells me everyone asks you for help and you just help them. I can't help myself, right? So for those that are listening, advice, if you're looking at shifting, ask yourself what would you shift to? What does that look like? Is it what gives you energy? Yeah. Right? Because if what gives you energy is being in, public service or whatever it may be, what does that look like for your family and yourself? Realistically. Because again, you don't know what every individual financially, and this is the part that we have to think about is how do we put food on the table first, right? How do we take care of our family emotionally and financially so that we can pursue that? Right. But it doesn't mean you can't. Set up a plan. Okay, maybe right now I can, but in 2 years I can. But if you don't have a plan, you won't go anywhere. I promise you. Absolutely. You have to have that and be able to have a village. You have to have mentors and people that you can really, really depend on that are going to show you the mirror. Like show you the mirror, meaning like, hey, this is the good, the bad. Like
so important.
Understand it and know that I'm here for you, but I'm not going to sugarcoat things. And and I'm sure you do. Like I have a village of 5 that are, brutally honest when I need them to be. And when I land on my face, they will tell me I landed on my face. And then I got to wipe myself and then, wipe my face and then just keep up and keep going. And they know that I'm going to reach back and go, okay, that was a screw up. How do I move forward? So for those that are listening, just know that it's bumpy.
And it's okay.
But it's worth it.
Yeah.
But it's worth it because nothing's worse than regret.
Oh,
nothing is worse than yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I just said that today.
Yeah, absolutely.
There is no greater sin than regret.
Yeah.
Like your own regret. Like to live with that.
Right. So. And I know you're very well read, but every book I've read about very accomplished leaders, their biggest regret is the time that they didn't invest in people, right? The time that they didn't invest in going on a wonderful trip with their family or their loved one or have love loss, right? Especially when they're on their deathbed. So, so learn that and know that if you live with regret, those are the things that you're going to be there with. So take care of your health, take care of your family, and more importantly, take care of yourself.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. So for people, how can they find you more about you, your services, your business? Where can we direct them?
So I have a website, so burkeconsultinggroup.org. And I also am on LinkedIn. Okay. So I don't do any other social media because of the safety factors that we've talked about. It's really important for me to stay on a professional level. And so, and I can share more about social media and, analytics and everything that I said, my safety brain has.
Well, let's
and posting. And
let's talk about that.
Okay, good.
I post a lot. We post a lot. We're very out there. It's part of our strategy.
Right.
A lot of everyone else does as well. Talking to parents with children.
Yes.
Ages probably 9 and up, because I've seen kids with very young kids with social media pages. I've not seen their pages, but their parents tell me they have them. What top advice would you give to a parent of a minor child with social media?
So number 1, you need to monitor. You need to turn off their location when they're posting because that's what happens. Predators, they find locations. They zero in exactly where someone is posting, A lot of people post while they're on vacation versus afterwards, right?
I've heard not to do that.
Yeah, no, it's tough, right? Because it's
very in the moment.
Right. It's very in the moment. You're excited and, we've all done that, right? But understanding like kind of the criminal mind and how they work and operate, which is that sad part that I always talk about is like, I got to see the ugly side of the world for almost 30 years. Jeez. So understanding that how to protect your kids, that location. I mean, obviously have the location on other things, but like monitor what they're posting.
Not just like look at their page for their pictures.
No, like grab their phone. You're paying for their cell phone. Listen, trust
You're the parent.
Yes. And I think sometimes people struggle with that. It's like grab their phone, and here, sweetie, you can grab my phone too. Here you go. Like, there should be no boundaries in that sense because you're not paying for your own cell phone bill. And until you do, you can just, do you.
Yeah.
But for now, guess what?
I'm the mom and I said so.
And I get to protect you, and so that is my job. And I don't think anyone should ever compromise that. And I think that's the hardest thing sometimes. Like, I don't want to be the bad guy. Well, guess what? We're not here to be best friends. I'm here to guide you through life. And protect you. And I'm like, please protect these kids because who else? Who else
is going to do it? And social media is it's such uncharted territory for 100%. A lot of parents. Yeah. And so I think being vigilant and taking actions like, that's so simple. Just grab your kid's phone and don't make it a thing. It should just be commonplace that you do that.
Right.
That could be one huge thing in and of itself.
And talking to them about why you're doing it, because it is also important. Like, listen, I love you, but there are really ugly people in the world that they're watching what you're posting to prey on you. And this is what praying means. Like, because it's sad that you have to explain that, but you have to. Like, there are ugly people out there. It's
sadder if something happens to them.
100%.
So think about it that way.
Yes, absolutely.
So if you want to get more information from Alma, please go to her website. We'll put it in the caption. Reach out. I know a lot of us are concerned with security in general, whether you're a CEO, stay-at-home person, parent, it doesn't matter. Especially today, you all know how the economy is and how society seems to just, something's off.
Absolutely.
And then the upcoming election, things are getting, a little testy for people. And so I think making sure we have the most education about security is very important in general to make us all continue to be well and safe and progressive people in our society. So Alma, thank you so much for being here.
My gosh, it's so good to connect with you.
That I'm proud of you, and thank you for all your years of service.
Thank you.
And for continuing to be of service.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to having you back.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.